Hello grade 4s and welcome to another science lesson. Today we'll be looking at chapter 7, lesson number 3. How do scientists answer questions? So in this lesson we will be focusing on scientific methods, being creative, observation and evidence, models and explanations. Scientific methods. So what is a scientific method? In this picture, you can see what the scientific method is. First of all, you have to do an observation. This is looking around you and asking questions. So when you can see something that you don't understand, you need to ask a question. Why is that happening? Then you can do some research on your questions. So research can be done by looking at encyclopedias or on the internet for other people's observations that they have done. You can then write a hypothesis. A hypothesis is a prediction that you make based on your knowledge. Do your own experiments. So when you do experiments, you need to come up with creative ideas to do your experiment, to test your hypothesis. Collect data from your experiments. So when you do your experiments, you need to collect data. This is taking down the observations that you have seen, putting it on a data sheet, and then drawing up some conclusions why you think this happened. So let's look at the bouncing ball experiment for an example. First of all, you need to look at or observe a ball. Then you can ask yourself a question. How high might this ball bounce on different surfaces? Great question. Write a hypothesis. What do you think the outcome will be if I drop this ball from a certain height? So our hypothesis needs to have if, then, and because. So my hypothesis is that if I drop the ball, then it will bounce highest on the rubber mat because the rubber mat is the most flexible. Identify your controllable variables, which means my controllable variable will be the height that I'm dropping it from and also the surfaces that I'm dropping them on. Test your hypothesis, which means that I need to carry out an experiment. This experiment needs to be controlled. By observing what happens to the bouncing or the ball bouncing, I can collect and record my data. Then I state my conclusion. Creativity. You need to be creative when you do or when you test your hypothesis. You need to find different ways of doing your experiment. For example, you need to build ways to keep your variables more accurate. If you look at this picture, you can see that you can build a release system for your ball to keep the variable of the height the same. This is very important to keep your data as accurate as possible. Observation and evidence. When observing the bounce of the ball, you need to write down your data on a piece of sheet paper. Repeat the experiment more than 3 times. This will give you more accurate data readings, and this will give you the best results. Models. Scientists must sometimes test and build models because they cannot test the actual size of the product. If I look at models, you get 3D models like this aeroplane and the ship. When I need to test them, I can't always use the actual size. So I build the most accurate scale models to test how winds or how waves will affect on these actual size models. Then you get 2D models. 2D models are actually drawings on a piece of paper to show you what the dimensions are. Dimensions are the sizes of the object. Explanations. After all the tests have been done and after all the data have been written down, you need to explain your results. Explanation will help support your hypothesis. Thank you so much for joining me with this session. I hope that you have enjoyed this lesson and that I will see you next time.